So the psychology of transformation. This is another 50-hour module of my 300-hour Advanced Inner Revolution training. And it's essentially based off the teachings of the Yoga Sutra of Lord Patanjali. Really one of the greatest, most seminal texts on classical yoga that we have today, 25 or so 100 years old, and it's still the one we look to. There's many translations of it, but the base teachings from the sutras have been around that long and exceptionally applicable to our modern day life. It's talking about the instrument of the mind mostly. It goes into all of the layers and different faculties involved in the mind and memory and personality and patterns and things like that. It really lays out the territory so we can help understand the way it operates. And when we understand how the mind operates, and also how it can cause us suffering on one hand, or it can actually lead us towards complete liberation on the other. It's really one of the most relevant texts in our modern era that I can think of studying. So the way I approach this training is to integrate modern psychology, which is very in line with the teachings of the sutras. So we look at the personality and understand our patterns and look at emotions and how they can serve us and how they can also tell us things about the way we think. So we have a look at that. The teachings of yoga psychology tend to go further than modern psychology, and they're looking at transcending the personality rather than just understanding it. Incredible teachings, and the fact that we can integrate the two is really helpful. Also, we're going to look at it from a tantric perspective. There's really no separating tantra and classical yoga. There's so many scholars that want to separate one, and one's a dualistic model and one's non-dualistic, and yoga is not the same as tantra. Really, the deeper you go in and understand them, they go hand in hand. They're not separate systems at all. They're different approaches, maybe not even so different. They're really just looking at different angles of heading towards the same target. So we'll look at how we can integrate our tantric hatha yoga teachings, asana and pranayama, from the perspective of Patanjali, and incorporate it into these incredibly in-depth and sophisticated teachings of the mind and the practices and so forth that go along with it. Really essential teachings. It's some of my favorite. This text has become my favorite again after looking at it from over 20 years. It's become the one I looked at now in the last 5 or 6 years and have really connected with on a deeper level. So it's my hope to share these teachings with you, bring them to life, share some of the secret teachings that are in the sutras, as a lot of the scripture is written in code, and a lot of the practices are actually not elaborated on at all. They come from other texts that have to be pulled out of them and brought into this one. So we'll give you some of these secret teachings from the sutras and an overview and an understanding that will help you move forth in your path.